Coming up on today's episode of the More Than Sunday podcast.
What is God doing?
Yep.
Because if we look back at church history, if we look back at the scriptures, if we look at these just quick little stories we've shared, he's always working.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to get in tune with him enough to see it.
Yes.
And so I guess I would just tie in with Scott with your encouragement of he is faithful, he's at work, and I think we've shared this before, but I think an interesting question is, Father, how have you been shepherding me?
Yeah.
Welcome to the More Than Sunday podcast with lead pastor Scott Harris and your host Josh Rogers. Each episode, we aim to have honest conversations around daily living as a follower of Jesus outside of a church building. Thanks for joining us. Let's start the conversation.
Welcome back to the More Than Sunday podcast, and we have back with us Scott Harris. Dude, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad you're back.
I've missed you. You guys did a great job. I listened to the podcast, and great job. And
Thank you, man. Thank you to our guests, Nick and Brittany.
Yeah, Nick and Brittany both did a great job.
Really cool conversation. This is episode 14, man.
Wow.
Pretty crazy.
Well, you and I both heard at the same time that the average length, the number of episodes a podcast makes it to is 3.
Yep.
So we're very, very mature in the podcast world. So I'm kind of feeling that right now.
Just a little extra.
We got to 14.
Extra zip, we're doing it. As we just practically haven't really caught up a ton, what we talk about in the More Than Sunday podcast is people following Jesus every day. And this is kind of just discussion around that life and what that's like, being followers of Jesus, including Sunday, but not limited to the Sunday morning experience. And you've been away, and I've had some cool travels and some cool journeys, other things going on in your family. And I've had some stuff going on. We haven't really caught up yet. And so I thought maybe this episode could just be a little bit of that, of storytelling and sharing some of the things we've seen the Lord doing in the midst of those. And sometimes you even realize in the midst of talking, like, oh man, I didn't even notice that, but wow, the Lord was really active there and showing me something new. So, but first, I got to ask you, because we've talked about it before and it's been hot. How's your yard doing?
Ooh, thanks for caring. Let's start with that. I am of the age that I care a lot about my yard. But
I respect that in you. That's why I asked.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels very, very grandpa-like. Well, the truth of the matter, as you'd stated, a lot of travels. I was gone for a month.
Yeah.
And sometime before I left, I had established an above-ground automatic sprinkler system. I mean, there's just sprinklers on timers, and I got it all set up. It was amazing. So lawn was just doing really good. Well, there was one sprinkler in the front that you always have to be careful for not bumping into it because it was right by a walkway. Well, I think it got bumped into while we were gone. Half of my lawn was brown and half was green when I got home. I know, tragic. I feel so. I'm happy to say now that I've been back for a month that we have brought it back.
Wow.
So we're not 100% full green, about 98%, but it was a tragedy.
You have a gradient, some dark green to some light green.
Exactly.
That's nice. It's artistic of you.
I did good, and so it was a beautiful moment, recovered, and in fact, just last night I mowed it and I stood alongside it and very proud as a grass grower. So yes, we're back.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
That's good work.
I knew you would be.
Yeah, that's good work. Let's not talk about mine. So you want to just jump into some stories of things that I don't even totally have context for all that you guys did. We don't have to hit everything, but anything come to mind specifically that was like, wow, this was really unique?
Crazy, yeah. And you're making reference to our sabbatical. And we had a 2-month sabbatical. And as you stated, we have not talked.
Yeah.
So the reality is it's all new. Even your journey, I knew about what you're doing, but don't know a lot about what you experienced and those things, what you learned.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear from you as well.
Yeah.
So our sabbatical, what we did in the 2-month sabbatical real quick is we spent the first 2 weeks on a historical Bible study trip, studying the expansion and growth of the church. We started in Italy, went up through Switzerland and into Germany.
That's so cool.
Yep. So spent about 13 days doing that. Amazing things there. Then we went to Paris and did a tour of Paris, went to the Louvre Art Museum, where the Mona Lisa's at. A lot of people know what that is. And then we went to a place called Le Brie in the Netherlands. And Le Brie, we're there a week, and it's a place where Christians and non-Christians gather to have processing, deep conversation, exploring, learning, praying, lots of things. That week was the highlight.
Wow.
Maybe we come back around to that. And then we went from there over to England. And then the plans were to stay at a monastery for a week. There's a story around that. And then we did some things in London, British Museum and things like that. And then spent a full day in Iceland.
Yeah.
I love that because I like natural things. And there's volcanoes and volcanic kind of activity.
Wow.
So I was loving that. And then we came back, and then our family all got together, including our daughter and granddaughter, and now future son-in-law from Australia, all gathered. We did a memorial service for Sandy's mom for the remaining 3 weeks of August. So that was our sabbatical. And so, something that grabbed me, there's a lot. I'll tell you, let's do something interesting.
Yeah.
So in that, Sandy and I celebrated our 36th wedding anniversary.
Wow. Congrats, dude.
Yeah. So what I did for the sabbatical, and I think we talked about it here, and it was really at your prompting, thank you for that, is I began my sabbatical while I was working in May. And so preparing for it. And so through May, June, and July, I read somewhere around 24, 25 books.
Wow.
Yeah, I ferociously was reading, just part of studying and growth and development.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I stated in there, we celebrate our 36th wedding anniversary. So what I want to do is read a book on marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I read a book, and I want to recommend it.
Cool.
By Gary Thomas, called Cherish. And the point of the book is to remind husbands to cherish their wife and really to restore that idea and that concept. And after being married for 36 years, I love Sandy, respect her, kind to her, and all of these things. But as I read this book, I said, I think I got my eyes off the idea of cherishing her, lifting her up, valuing her completely, seeing what God is doing in her, through her, and just really celebrating her. And so I read the book. I put that into practice during that time, and that was just a sweet, sweet time and a wonderful reminder to me of the gift that God gave me and my wife, Sandy. So that's one of the things, but that was a cool thing.
That's really cool. Immediately, something that stands out to me from, I don't know if you did this intentionally, so I guess you'll tell me in a second, but with the timeline of how everything worked in your sabbatical, is you, gave an opportunity for, reset of your mind, transformation of your mind with reading and experience and all these places, and then you just got to live for another month after that.
Yes.
And that resonates with me, as we were talking even before the episode. I've been, honestly, since my sabbatical, processing the reality of what it means to become someone versus creating something.
Uh-huh.
And that process of becoming is much, much slower and takes intentionality to become someone like Jesus. Right. I think of the book Practicing the Way by John Mark Comer, and he quotes in it Dallas Willard, but just says, we're all being formed. We're all becoming someone. But becoming Christ-like doesn't happen by accident.
Right.
It's from following. And so anyway, that stands out to me as wow, what a cool rhythm. Was that intentional? Or was that just the Lord getting your back
very
on that
intentional. I take back to our conversation is, when you learn something, especially if it's a real practical, but it could be a universal truth. I'd have to think to it. But definitely when you're trying to learn new ways, you learn something new. In that, you also have to unlearn something. And the unlearning may be the more difficult part of the learning.
Yeah.
Is, okay, I want to, let's say, pray more. Okay, I've got to learn to discipline myself in time category to create that space.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do differently? What do I have to unlearn to execute what I learned about praying more and more considerate? Same thing is about every aspect. So I would say it was very intentional about learning things in May and then unlearning them. And then the actual away sabbatical is to practice it. Because then once anything new, think about riding a bike.
Right.
Remember how bad you were when we first started to learn a bike? And now you can do it without even thinking. But that took a lot of practice.
Yeah.
And so as we stepped into these things that I was trying to learn, going through the unlearning process of other things, and then exercising what does it mean to, for something for me is to eat better. There's a lot of new work and practice to change how you eat. 'Cause another thing I discovered on sabbatical at L'Abri is just the power of what you eat and how it's a gift of God and an opportunity to really fuel your body.
How did that discovery come about?
It was by accident. So L'Abri, as I shared, we were there a week in this, I'll call it a commune, but when I say that, I know what jumps to your mind. Oh, this is a big hippie thing. It's not that, but it was a Christian community.
Sure.
That's been intentional since Francis Schaeffer started in the 50s.
Wow.
And it's all about coming together as community, Christian and non-Christian, with really the foundational belief that God is who he says he is, Jesus is who he says is, and the scriptures are what they say they are.
Yeah.
Right? So, but you come with hospitable, meaning, every question is okay, and you process and you journey and you pray and you learn and listen to lectures, so many more details. But basically, that's what you did. And we did that for a week in community. Great conversation, great learning, great prayer. But also in that time, I didn't know this, but they fixed every meal from scratch. Mostly vegetarian.
Yeah.
And that wasn't for any other biblical reason other than to eat healthy and well. And it took about 3 days, and I felt different. I slept better. I learned with more ease, and just more in tune, and just my overall vitality changed. And so I'm, like most Americans, kind of caught in a highly processed diet.
Sure, yeah.
And really, really felt the difference. So, but that's really hard to change. So I want to be honest with that as I make that statement. I said, great, do that, but I have a lifetime of a habit of, eating certain ways, and convenience becomes king in these things. So that's how I kind of accidentally learned that, and I'm still trying to learn that now. I want to eat better.
That's great, dude. And I would say, listeners may not know this, but you know this, that I was vegan for 3 years, and that didn't have anything to do with any belief system other than I did a Daniel fast, and that was basically only eating anything that is grown in the earth, non-processed, and no meat or anything like that for 21 days. And I just felt incredible after. And so I just kind of kept it going, and it lasted 3 years. But an interesting thing about that is I switched it up and kind of went back to a normal diet. And just like anything else, I think, fitness is a similar thing. It takes kind of daily maintenance, kind of always.
Yes.
right? Like I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say terrible, but I wouldn't say I'm in a great spot in terms of eating choices. And there have been seasons that I have been. So it's interesting. The holistic process of your whole person becoming healthier, which isn't so much a like self-help model as a stewardship model and trying to live within the way Jesus modeled living.
Yeah.
There's this daily kind of moment by moment practice to that, as you were saying.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think we're off on this diet tangent, which is going to, this podcast will be that. I know it was both of us. But here's the deal with it is, what's crazy is, because you can over spiritualize it, but it's healthy. It's healthier.
Right.
Even this fact, and this is very biblical, it's so cool, is eating in Europe and at L'Abri, so all through Europe, they taught us, they said, okay, American, when you sit down and after you order your food, ask for your check. Our rhythm in America is you finish your meal, they see that you're done, they bring your check.
Yeah.
Right? Because here the rhythm of Europe is meal is a time of community and relationship. And it's expected that your meal in a restaurant will last at least 2 hours, if not more. In America, the goal is every time you finish a course, the next one should be coming. As soon as you put that fork down from finishing your plate, typical American wants their check.
Right.
So it's this pace of life that is, and I go back to diet and all these things, even spiritual things, and a segue for us towards the spiritual.
Yeah.
But it's really true is we're in too big of a hurry. We're just rushing and rushing and rushing, and we're just consuming things that you and I just talked. We both know are what's good for us.
Sure.
But we're too busy to find the time to nurture ourselves. Here comes a big segue. And the same is true spiritually, right?
Yeah.
And I really learned that at L'Abri of sitting for 2 or 3 hours at the dinner table, just talking to new friends about meaningful topics.
That's great. I love that. I want to do that.
Let's do it. Yes.
That sounds awesome. As we've kind of talked about pre-sabbatical, because I want to zoom out for a second and recognize that like sabbatical isn't a normal thing for other professions and careers, right? So for anyone who maybe doesn't even know what that means, it's time away to go retreat with the Lord.
Yes.
But we talked about sort of the ramp into that. How's the ramp back up or back into work been?
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, and all of us have experienced it. You go on vacation and you get in kind of vacation mode and you come back, right? So there's some of that, and I knew it, but what is really good, I want to talk about the positive, is I feel a freshness in my spirit. It's really interesting. So I'll just put it in terms, I haven't really thought about it theologically. But when I pray and I'll breathe in and prepare to connect with God, right? Really just tune into Him, I distinctly feel His presence, right? And in fact, to a point now, I haven't told anybody this, so it's secret. But
inside scoop.
Inside scoop. No one knows. But it's of late, the last about couple weeks, when I go into that place of prayer in the morning and I take that breath in, I experience what I told you.
Yeah.
And I just feel His presence so clear. I've started saying thank you. So as soon as I feel it, I say thank you.
That's cool. I love that.
And it's really incredible because I've seen more prayers answered.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I've been more in tuned. I enter into, because the pace and the fray is all there waiting for me.
Yeah.
But I bring something different into it now. And it's just being a bit more tuned in to the Lord. I feel it.
Yeah. That's great, dude. That's really good. And I think, your statement of even seeing more prayers answered, I think that can be heard in different ways. What resonates with me and I have experienced is when I am the most kind of tuned up and tuned into the Lord, I'm more aware of what he's already doing.
Yeah, good.
And I think that it's a human experience for all of us that when we, as the saying goes, allow our souls to catch up to our body and get in tune and in union with God, we're going to continue to be blown away at all the things he's already doing.
Yeah.
And having those is something we pray a lot on Sunday mornings, like eyes to see and ears to hear.
Yes.
To stay connected with what he is doing, it just like explodes in gratitude and thanksgiving in your heart. I got to do some hanging out with my family over this last couple of days and hanging out with my nephew and my niece and their perspective. Obviously, I have my kids, but you know how it is. Like you experience a different age range or something different, and just it hits your perspective differently.
Yeah.
And just the simple, like gratitude and thankfulness for the simple things from them is so cool and encouraging. And I love that, and this was what Jesus said would be true. We like position ourselves to head towards maturity and to grow in wisdom and find ourselves back at a childlike place of just gratitude and thanksgiving and simple view of an amazing God, but not simple in a be the right word, like a uneducated way, but simple in a profound way of his holiness, of his otherness.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's so true. I think of our own children, when they come to us, what we feel, especially when they come to us with an understanding that we are their loving parent, right? That we want good for them, So I think God loves it. In fact, Jesus says when he's talking to the apostles that we need to come like one of these children, right? And I think what he's speaking of is that faith like a child.
Yep.
That says, and I think God loves it for us. So I think sometimes when we, it's not always derogatory when we say that we come back to our childhood and faith, when we're talking about a very large, big, trusting faith.
Yep. Yeah, I love it, man. I'm excited to continue to see, we've said it a couple of times, but change is a process and it takes time. And I'm excited to continue to kind of journey alongside you, even just in conversation here, of how these things that he's revealed to you during this time away will grow in you over the next however many years. Yeah. That's been my experience so far. It's like, I think it's going to be, every 7 years or so. I think it's going to be into the 7, if not forever, of becoming what he showed me on the last sabbatical.
Yeah. Just the picture the Lord gave me listening to you. First, I was inspired and encouraged. Earlier, you talked about from your own sabbatical, you're still growing and stuff. I love that. But the picture the Lord just gave me when you were speaking is, sabbatical is like cultivating a soil, right? That will take the good seed and put in that. And it's over time that grows and there's a harvest and fruit and all these things. And so thank you for that. That was good. And we got to remember that.
Well, a cool segue from that. And this is true, just to clarify, certainly not of people who go on sabbatical, but of all of us, right? As we lean into the Lord and he leans into us and grows things, it's his timing on the harvest. But we get to trust him in that process with his faithfulness to bear fruit in season, right? But so part of what I was doing in Indiana is my brother and I were recording an album that we've been working on. And these are songs we've written together over the last almost decade, but a couple of them were written during my sabbatical. So how cool, fruit a few years later already, right? To see some of these cool moments with the Lord written on paper begin to come to life a couple years later. as we kind of re-journey with them. But man, that was an experience of a lifetime, dude. We were going 15, 16-hour days, just nonstop. And we were talking earlier, you hit a place of like creative exhaustion and mental exhaustion where like everything becomes hilarious and sad and joyful all at the same time. But it's kind of the sweet spot. And my brother has an awesome house and a pool in the back. They live over in Indiana. It's super hot there right now. So we'd get to a place of like, nothing's happening anymore. Just go jump in the pool and reset and come back in. But really the heart of what that album is going to be is a creative expression of a prayer journal. These are all kind of songs that have come from quiet place with the Lord, whether he and I together or separate, that have kind of culminated into this project that we're putting down primarily to steward them and to share with our family.
Yeah. Have you guys named it? Titled it?
Well, the artist name of it is going to be Brothers. We already have a few things under that are just kind of fun and things like that. But that really embodies like, you know, who we are today is because of all the things we've been through. Yeah. And that's been our journey as brothers to walk through that. And this is really those expressions, both highs and lows, from this last kind of decade of doing life together.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I love that. I can't wait to hear. I love your guys' work. I've heard a few different things, and
yeah, we're really excited about it. It's fun, and it's neat to work really hard on something for a really long time that has depth. I mean, there are moments that like it takes you back when you're recording some things you wrote in those heavy spaces. We both had a song that was written. We weren't in the same place at the same time, but we both had a song that was written during an anxiety attack on there. And so to go back to that place and sing those words, it takes you back to those spaces and just a really tangible, fresh reminder of God's faithfulness and his timeliness in shepherding and leading his people.
I love that. In a time-wise, more macro sense, when I studied church history, that was one of the things that I walked away from is God's faithfulness through, our lens, through the ages.
Yeah.
He's so faithful, and he's faithful in our journeys. And as we talked about, when you're tuned into that, you can see it and experience it, hear it, feel it. So I love that. I love that for you, that your brother, and I know a lot about your guys' journey, and I love that you're doing this. I can't wait to hear your work.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, we're definitely excited about it. As we've really been talking about this whole time, the harvest, if you will, of a time away is sometimes a little immediate and sometimes a little not immediate.
Right.
If you had an encouragement that you'd share from your journey through this summer, what might that be?
Yeah. I'd go back to God's faithfulness. Sometimes we can look at the world around us, maybe get depressed, get sad, but he truly has carried this. And what has always been true through the rhythms of our human existence is, God works through his people. Mm-hmm. And he is faithful, and he's doing a great work. And sometimes when we get our heads down and kind of focus in on maybe the things that aren't going so well, or we don't quite understand around us, we almost get the sense that maybe God isn't in control. But he's faithful. He is in control. He's doing a good work, and we get the good privilege of knowing him and walking in his presence. So, and I know that I don't want to say that in a cliche form where it makes everything all peachy, because life is still hard. A lot of pain in that. But there's this beautiful gift he provides us. And sometimes I'll share, I spent a day and a half in a stone cottage in the countryside in England studying the word shalom. And that is most maybe succinctly stated, completeness. Us being complete as we were intended to be, and Jesus restores us, and he maintains that in us. And we're called to keep our eyes, on him, the creator and author and the perfecter of our faith.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, so I hope that's a way of encouragement that we get to enjoy that. So
yeah.
So he's faithful.
Yeah. I guess what stands out to me, and I certainly didn't come into this thinking about this, but what stands out to me is I hope that for those who are listening, that you have a new question in your heart and mind, even just after this conversation, of what is God doing?
Yep.
Because if we look back at church history, if we look back at the scriptures, if we look at these just quick little stories we've shared, he's always working. And sometimes we have to get in tune with him enough to see it.
Yes.
And so I guess I would just tie in with Scott with your encouragement of he is faithful, he's at work. And I think we've shared this before, but I think an interesting question is like a next step, if you will. What do you do with this thought is, Father, how have you been shepherding me?
Yep.
We mentioned different things we've been going through as a family. Part of what I was doing in Indiana was my grandfather passed away a couple weeks ago, and so we were doing a graveside service for him, and we've had a family farm for a really long time, few generations, and it's time for that season to end, and so a lot of the cousins and things were there to kind of see it one last time, and my brother and I were asked to lead the service for his graveside. And when we go through time away or season change like this, it always tends to cause you to take account, to think with a bigger lens of what am I doing? Where have I been? Where am I going? And what comes to mind is an encouragement we had there for our family, but I think is true for our global family as well. Is if you find yourself in a space, regardless of what you're going through, of I don't know how to navigate what to do next, an encouragement would be that you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
There's a good shepherd who wants you to follow him, to hear his voice and follow. And there's this really cool thing. So we read Psalm 23, and interestingly enough, one of the songs we wrote for the album is all around Psalm 23. And there's a lot of different cool little nuggets around Hebrew poetry and Hebraic writing and the different ways that they used timing and pacing and where the thesis was. And I believe I'm not mistaken in saying that Psalm 23 is one where, in a lot of modern writing, the topic verse or the theme verse would be at the top, but in Psalm 23, it's right in the middle. And it's, I will not fear, for you are with me. And that's what the rest of it is all about. And I think about the end of this person following the Good Shepherd who says, surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. What he doesn't say is that everything will be peachy and candy and great, but that you find this, as you were sort of saying, this shalom, this completeness, this contentedness, this union place, this place of, God, I see you, I see what you're doing, I know I'm not alone, I know you're with me. And so I guess all that said, I think it's important to share story, even like we've been sharing today, even if you're not sure the outcome of the story, or like, it doesn't have a cool ending. I think we all are better when we get to see the image God is creating in each of us.
Yeah. Yeah, because we are living out the story that God has for us. I'm not talking about we're perfected, but He has created us, and has a hope and a future for us, and we get to journey this. And so, I think it's so good to lift our eyes up and see Him. And again, anytime I share things like this, I'm just always mindful of those that may be in a season of hurt and pain.
Yeah.
And knowing that His goodness is still there. So
yeah.
I love you, and God loves you, and just overall pray for you. But and God is working, but He's in the high times. You and I both have done a lot the last couple of months. I can't wait to hear more about it. But there's just cool things that has happened, and that we get to walk this story out. That He's and how did you phrase it? We were becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were becoming, and I love that journey.
I think that's part of the thing that's been encouraging me the most is whether it's the lowest of lows or the highest of highs, we still go back to those sort of daily practices, if you will, of the eating and the taking care of yourself and the pursuing and loving and becoming more like Him. And so I guess maybe a closing thought would be, if you find yourself in that space, I would just say, keep going, take that next step. Yeah. Keep taking that next step towards Jesus with everything that you are. Love Him with your heart, mind, and soul and strength, one step at a time. And He always meets us in that place. Dude, I'm so glad that you're back. I'm excited for more conversation and more story. Excited to continue to see what the Lord is doing and birthing in you in terms of even just dreams and vision for our community here and what's going on. But want to hope and pray as you continue to take the pace back into some beautiful combination of a healthy pace and a busy pace, that you'd maintain that connectedness that you found. For sure. I
love it. Can I tell you a story?
Of course.
Quick, you guys weren't there. So, everybody, because one of my things I didn't talk about it later is I went and visited and stayed at a monastery on my sabbatical. So people were saying, what are you going to become, a monk now? And got a little bit of teasing that way. So we had a staff potluck that was scheduled today for me to come and just share about my sabbatical and everything.
Yeah.
So a couple of nights ago, I I bought from Amazon a monk suit. So the staff is all, have you heard about this yet? I did it today, just a couple hours ago. So they're all sitting there. We have the meal and stuff. So let me go grab my computer so I could.
Oh my gosh.
So I go out and I put on this monk suit. It's got a hood, big old cross necklace, the rope. And I come walking in. Oh man, they died.
That's awesome.
Because they're used to that for me. So
that's fair.
That was good. So transformation change. It was fun. I loved it. But I know it's. I'm super excited to share, continue to grow. I love the podcast. My prayer and hope is that it's touching lives. Shout out to Evan, our fan in Australia. He was up, and this last few weeks, he's dating my daughter. He proposed to her while he was here. He asked for her hand in marriage from myself and Sandy. Proposed to her, and then
That's
Stephanie
awesome.
has a daughter. He actually proposed to her too.
That's so cool.
And so it was really cool.
Good
so
for him.
Congratulations. Super excited for those guys out there.
Congrats, Evan and Steph.
Yep. So there are 3 fans in Australia.
Yeah, I love it. Well, as always, we're so thankful that you continue to listen and want feedback or questions, that you can send it to morethansunday@northshorechristian.org at any time. We'd love to engage with you there and talk about stuff. But until next episode, hope you have an awesome week, and let's keep taking those next steps together.
I love it. God bless you all.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the More Than Sunday podcast. The easiest way to stay connected with us is to follow or subscribe on whatever podcast platform you are using. If this episode was impactful for you, leave a comment or review below. We would love to hear from you. This podcast is hosted by Northshore Christian Church. We have services in Everett at 8:30 and 10:30 a.m. and would love to see you there.